Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ella, and for today's video I will finally be discussing my top 5 book recommendations if you are starting out in Wicca. And so these books are specific for Wicca. They're not necessarily just Wicca and witchcraft, but instead they're very specific to Wicca. I also want to just apologize quickly for my background. I am currently sitting in my family home in Germany. So I took some of my altar things here because we are in the process of moving, and yeah, it's a lot. Hopefully in a couple of months we will be moved into our new place and I will have a nice new setup. But yeah, so yeah, just bear with me here. And I also don't have 2 of the books with me right now here, so I will just be popping some images, popping them on the screen somewhere. But yeah, let's get right into it. So this was a highly requested video and I am really late with making this video. I kept pushing it back because there is something that I want to discuss with you in regard to a couple of these authors. The first book that I really wanted to initially recommend was the Big Blue Book, or The Complete Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland, and I still love the book itself. However, something that has to be mentioned with Raymond Buckland is something that came to light, and I only recently knew about this from talking with a friend online, is that Raymond Buckland has made some homophobic statements in the past. So obviously that's not okay. Obviously I don't want to endorse anything like that on my channel. So I just wanted to kind of let you guys know, if you are buying this book, that you are aware of this homophobic statement which he said. The book really is good. I really do think it's a classic. I think Wiccans that are getting into it should still have read the book, because the book itself contains really amazing information. It's just that the author, you know, this book is absolutely incredible in itself. You basically get the history of witchcraft, and with that Wicca you get a really nice outline of the traditional Gardnerian way of Wicca, and you also get exercises with that so that you can really practice. It almost feels like a little bit of a nicer type of school book, because you have little tests at the end of each chapter to test your knowledge, which is great for, yeah, for beginners really, to make sure that everything that you just read is actually in your mind, that you've understood it, and for you to know where you should go back and study a little bit more. This book also contains a lot of information. It contains simple things such as the basics of Wicca, the Sabbats, how to celebrate them, to how to craft your own wand or robe, to your altar layout, to divination, to different runes thing. Like, it has a lot of different information for you in a really nice compact way. The only thing is, it is traditional, so it might not necessarily read as nice and smoothly as the more modern ones, but it is a foundational book. I would suggest you to read it if you are looking for something to begin with. The next book, which is also very basic, let's say, is the Wicca Bible, which is this one right here, by Anne-Marie Gallagher. I apologize if I butchered that last name. This one is really just very inclusive of a lot of different information. So everything is very compact. It's very easy for you to just take off your shelf and quickly just check, you know, for references. So it talks about basic Wiccan principles. It talks about the Sabbats and how you can celebrate them, and the different paths and the different tools, and a lot. It has a lot of different things and concepts that I really think are great for a beginner. It has the basic what is Wicca. So this is a really great tool book that I really have used a lot in my own practice, and I'm not sure, I don't really see it a lot anymore nowadays, maybe because the cover isn't Instagrammable, but it is a great book. I do really suggest it. It's really easy. The only thing is, it may not necessarily contain background information as much, so it's not as in-depth, because it has a lot. It's almost like a little Wikipedia. Instead of having to go to Google or whatever, you have this book that has a lot of different key information. So, and then the next book is one that I also have in my other home in Latvia, and that is Scott Cunningham, Living Wicca, and that one is also an absolute classic. It has, yeah, the principles of how you as a Wiccan, now that you know the basics, how you can live day-to-day life as a Wiccan, how you can appreciate nature, how you can conduct your rituals, daily little things, how you can continue your practice and really go more in depth with it all. So that one is really great. I really love Scott Cunningham in general. I have a couple of his books. He's a really, really classical source, also more traditional. The only thing with Scott Cunningham is that I've heard people say that his books aren't necessarily the easiest to read, and that they might be a little bit more like a school book or something like that, that you have to kind of push through sometimes, because it's the terminology and everything. It's an older book as well, so you kind of get that with that book, but I still think it's a classic. I still think it's a really great book for even beginners and amateurs and advanced people to have. Now that we have discussed the Wiccan principles and basics, there are two more books which I think are absolutely amazing, and these ones are new, so I have not finished these books yet completely, but I have gotten to a point where I can really say I love this book. I really recommend it already. And that first book is by Ronald Hutton, and he's a historian, and he specifies on witchcraft and paganism in Europe. This one is called The Triumph of the Moon, and this one feels like reading literature for university, which I don't mind. I really enjoy this kind of educational read, let's say, but it's very historical. So he discusses how witchcraft was, you know, how it grew in pagan Europe and how the terms came to be, and just a lot of it, right? And this one is really great if you are just, you know, trying to learn about your own witchcraft ancestry, if you have roots in Europe, and if you're in general quite interested in European paganism. So therefore this is really great for you, and in general it's just good to read the history of witchcraft and learn a little bit more about what happened in the past. Really recommend this book. And he has a couple of different books, and he was actually suggested to me by a friend, and yeah, I really am grateful for this because I didn't know this author before, and Ronald Hutton is really, really amazing. I like his writing style a lot as well. And the next book, and the final book that I really highly suggest, you've probably seen on Instagram or on YouTube. It's quite popular, and I got it because I was like, what's the hype? What's the hype all about? It is really good. And that one is this book right here, The Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. I also haven't quite finished this book yet, but I also have gotten to the point where I really appreciate the writing style, and I think it's really, really informational. I think this one is not necessarily Wicca specific at all. He actually tries to be very inclusive to, let's say, all paths, right, or different practices, or in general just more witchcraft as a practice rather than a religious path. So this one is really amazing because it also has exercises that you can do to learn, and what I really like about this book is how absolutely basic it is. And I say basic in the most amazing way, because this book doesn't just throw a couple of words around assuming that you already know these words and terms and practices, but instead he explains everything. He explains the different terms that he uses and the different practices and where they come from and how you can practice them yourself, and a really great source if you are becoming a witch. And in Wicca as well, we do use a lot of visualization, manifesting, and psychic things, essentially, right? Witchcraft really is connected to that. He does write about the connection between psychic and mediums and witchcraft. That's something new. Usually there always was a separation between these two. Psychics would often not want to be called witches, but he really draws the connection and creates that kind of connection in your mind that you may not have seen beforehand. And yeah, I really recommend this book. It's, first of all, it's absolutely stunning, but the information in it is also really amazing. So yeah, those were my 5 suggestions if you are starting out. And I quickly want to go over another thing that I think is quite important, and that is with books and with Wicca in particular. There has been a lot of books that are being released, and you see them on Instagram and they're beautiful covers, but something that I do want to just highlight here or discuss is that not all books that are beautiful are actually good for beginners. They may contain information that you need to double check on. With newer books, I have noticed that sometimes the focus really is on the cover, and I don't want to throw shade or anything or be petty or, you know, start anything here, especially not on specific authors or anything like that, but I just want to like let you know that a lot of these newer, nicer books, they don't contain the basic information, and they don't contain the history of witchcraft or the most simple basics of witchcraft, right? They contain information, but they might not be suitable for a beginner. So if you see books online, and they're really nice and beautiful and intriguing. Do just quickly read up on them and make sure that they are suitable for your level, because as someone that has already been practicing for a couple of months or years, something like that would not be a problem because you would already know and understand these terms and these practices. But you still need, as a beginner, to understand what is protection, what is Wicca even, right? And how do you cast a circle, and the history. You just need these basic elements to then build on. So yeah, that was it already for this video. My camera is dying, so thank you so much, and I do apologize for not having been here for a month. I am getting back to filming now. I just finished my bachelor's degree. Yippee! So that's great. So I'll definitely be filming more now again, and thank you so much for being here. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. So yeah, see you next time, and bye guys. Blessed be.